Okay, so I'm here in Baja California Sur, and I wanted to talk a little bit about wild edible plants that are in this area, and also seasonality and how important seasonality is in considering what is edible down here. Some of these are actually practical for things that you could harvest and use as like a practical provisional thing, and people do that with some of the plant species down here in Baja California Sur in Mexico. So the first one I'm going to talk about is this salicornia plant here. It has several different common names: dwarf pickleweed, dwarf woody glasswort, several different things, but this is related to the woody glasswort or the pickleweed plant that you find throughout much of the United States, and it's just a little bit smaller version of that. So you can see the little segments on here if you get a good look at that. And what you're looking for when you go to eat these is the fresh green shoots that are at the top. Even some of these are a little bit too far gone, but it's very salty, and it actually has great flavor because of the salt. And if you get the really fresh green sprouts on that, it's almost like a little bit of like a asparagus with salt added to it. And you can cook these or eat them raw. And you can see that's a whole field behind me of this stuff. So there's options all over the place to harvest this. Now, in terms of other things that you have just in this general area, you've got another species of pitaya cactus right here, and during the right season you're going to get fruit on that. But this is January down here in Baja California Sur. That's the winter time. That's not the season to harvest the fruits. So you're going to get these flowering sometime in the late spring, and then probably get fruit on that in the late summer, July or August, something along those lines. Now you've got another plant here. This is a species of cholla cactus that you will be able to get edible fruit on as well, but again, that's season dependent, and this is not the right season. And most of these cactus species, they're going to be going off at least generally at the same time. You might be able to see behind me some of these big cardon cactus, the ones that get upwards of 60 feet if you're in the right place. They won't get that big down here in Baja California Sur probably, but certainly you got some like this one over behind me here. That's over 30 feet tall. So 30 to 40 feet is fairly common for those. And those get an edible fruit on them as well. Again, season dependent. So far, the only thing that we found that you could harvest right now is that salicornia, that pickleweed plant that I showed you in the beginning. Now this, you might see these berries on this copal tree, and I've talked about these in other videos. They smell incredible, and you can use these for some kind of aromatherapy or many other uses. I'm still looking into some of the medicinal uses on these, but it looks like there's antiseptic uses and a whole range of other things that the indigenous people have used these for in the past. And not just the berries, but the resin and the bark and other components of this. I actually saw, I was way back in the mountains in the Sierra de la Giganta area, and the local people were bagging the dried bark and selling that for medicinal purposes. So they're still doing that till this day. That's not something that's long forgotten. And then you might see in another video that I plucked the hard resin that was leaking out of one of these and used it to start a fire. It burns incredibly well. It's the best fire starter I've found. It's up there with like pine and spruce resin and things along those lines, if not even better than that. Now, this is all in a very close area, and you can see a lot of different options here. So this is a garambullo, and that's another kind of cactus that will give you a pitaya fruit during the right season. Okay, so you're not going to get anything off of that right now in January. You got several months before you'll be able to get anything off of that. So gotta watch our step. There's a lot of different cactus to watch out for here. A lot of things that are trying to reach out and poke and grab at you. So you gotta be careful. Now, this little plant here, I don't know how well you can see this. This is a wolfberry plant, and you can see these tiny little green leaves on here, little succulent like leaves. This is related to a well, all the wolfberries, right? This is the genus Lycium, I think, and we have these in South Texas, where I'm from, along with many of the other things that you'll see out here. A lot of them have relatives that are found throughout the southwestern United States, especially. Now, this is related to tomatoes, and during the right season, this plant will get bright red little berries on there, and they are edible. They're not out right now, right? So now you're walking past all these plants that have potentially edible food, but we're not here during the right season for it. Now, I don't see anything else in this general vicinity that I can point out to you, but just within probably a 20-25 yard walk here, I was able to identify half a dozen different things that you can potentially use for food and or other medicinal uses. So there's a lot of useful stuff out here in the desert if you know what you're looking for.